lovely, which I'll run underneath the titles in a moment. We're going to be installing some water butts for the vegetable garden so that we've got water at the bottom of the garden, and I'll update you on the progress in the polytunnel, and we're going to be planting lots of seeds, bulbs and some bare root roses. So lots to get on with, but first of all we're going to start with the installation of that water butt after the titles. Planning for summer is very important, and making sure we've got enough water for our gardens during the dry and warm months is equally as important. Last year I installed this water butt here, and then I've added a second because this one was filling too quickly, and I put an overflow pipe between the two to make sure this one fills, and that's filling up pretty well. But I need some water down the bottom of the garden in the vegetable patch, so I've decided to install a water butt on the potting shed. Let's go and have a look at that. Well, today I'm down the vegetable garden and I've been installing this rainwater collection system, so the guttering on the back of the shed, and I've got another water butt to fit in down here which will collect water for this end of the garden. That's going to make things a lot easier when we're watering in the greenhouse and the polytunnel. So let me just install that water butt now. Well, there we go, all fitted in and already collecting water as a little rain shower comes over, and that's going to give me a really good supply of water for the vegetable garden this summer. Well, those of you that watched the video where I showed the preparations for the back garden, I've just been edging out the shape for the central border, and all of that grass in there is coming out, and that's going to allow me to plant a lot of perennials, some flowering shrubs and some winter flowering shrubs as well, so we'll get some all year round interest from here. Now I must say that the Amelanchier is looking absolutely superb here, and will soon be in full flower, and I can't wait for that. But this border will be one of the best assets that the garden has got, and then we'll just be having grass paths around. So all I've got to do is dig out all that turf now. Happy days. So that's the new border. The turf is dug out, and there's a little bit of a mound added for height because the garden has no variation in height. But if I just come down here and then give you a little view there, you'll be able to see that the mound is there. And what we're going to be doing now is we're going to be taking a trip to the garden centre to buy the shrubs to go into this border. Now, whilst we're on P for preparation, a couple of weeks ago I showed you I've been starting my bean supports, and thank you very much to Alice for your communication about where I got my 8-foot canes from. They're not 8-foot canes, they're the standard 4-foot canes that you get in most garden centres. But I'll show you now how I make them into 8-foot canes. Well, the first thing I do is I take my 4 canes that I'm going to use, grab myself a felt tip, and I just make 2 lines across so that I've got a mark that is equidistant for all of the canes. Pop the lid back onto my marker. Then I take a drill and I'm just going to put a hole through the bamboo on each mark. It doesn't have to be 100% accurate, but nice slow drill. And we'll do that with both of the marks on this one. Oh, and I've split that one, so that's no good there. I'll have to make another mark there, and we'll go through so it's equidistant. It's the only thing, if you try and drill it too fast, they will split. A nice slow drill. Get it through there. That's one, and then we'll do another one here for the same distances. You get that nice smooth hole through there. Just a little bit more. And then on this one here. So then once we've got our 4 holes through our wood, all we need to do is reverse one of those and take a cable tie, run it through the holes, making sure we've got the cable tie the right way round, bring it down, then feed it back through the other side. And once we've got that, we can just then close the cable tie off, tighten it up, tight as you can. You've then got an 8-foot cane. Fantastic. I'll do the other one and we'll put these up into position. Now once we've made our 2 8-foot canes, before we place them in the ground, we're just going to take another cable tie and run that around the top, because once they're 8 foot high, they're just a little bit too high to join together. So we'll put that together nice and tight, and that will allow us to make a A-frame, which we're going to do now in position on the bed. Well, now the A-frame is firmly placed in the soil, it's still got quite a lot of lateral movement. So what we do is we take another 2 canes, and this is actually going to help us with growing of our beans as well. And we'll put one straight into the ground below, and then we'll take one and put it about 8 inches away and lean that across. We can then bring those all together with the frame that we've got. In fact, that one there should go between, which is quite nice. And then we just take another cable tie. And make that nice and tight. And that's going to give it that extra support. We'll do the same on the other side. And then once we're finished putting them all up, we'll take another cane and we'll just run that across so that we've got extra support for our plants as they grow up. everything's looking quite nice. So wow, I think that brings us to the end of this section. Time to move on to the planting. Well, this is definitely the best time of year when we're getting our seeds in and getting all sorted out. I've just been putting some tomato seeds into this tray of plugs, and what I'm now going to do is I'm just going to pop some water into the tray and then drop this onto the top of it so that they'll water itself up and draw the seeds nicely down into the compost. Get that into there, pop the lid on there. These are going to be going into the polytunnel. I've got some cucumbers here. These are my peas, my cabbages and my cucumbers, which are going to be planted out there very shortly. And I've just got another 4 or 5 trays of seeds to plant now, so I'm going to crack on with that. These will be potted out, and the tomatoes will be coming back into the greenhouse to grow, but the cucumbers, once they grow, will be planted in the ground in the polytunnel. So spring is in the air. How we love that. So lovely to be in the garden with a little bit of sunshine, even though it's a bit blowy outside. As that sunshine comes through, it's really, really nice. Well, now I'm going to be putting a couple of bulbs in at the top of the herb garden around my grasses, and I've got some Spiraxis bulbs, just a small bulb, and I'm going to be putting those in with the use of a pencil. Just make a small hole into the compost, in with the bulb, and bring that round the top. So when we're planting the bulb, we'll just make that hole into the compost, take the bulb into the soil and bring that over the top. And we'll do that for each of the bulbs. We'll put one into this corner over here. Pop that in there nicely. And if we get another one in the back corner here. Nice. And I'm going to be planting 4 or 5 in each of the pots around the top, just to give us some nice summer colour. Planting these now, they should flower in June and July. Give us some nice colour while we're sitting here for our cup of tea. Well, one of last year's great successes in the garden were the roses, and so what I've decided to do is to get another half a dozen roses to put into this border here. And as we're heading to the 70th anniversary of Her Majesty the Queen taking to the throne, 3 of the roses I have got are called Queen Elizabeth. I've got 2 pink and 1 red, and I'm sure they're going to look fantastic. I'm going to be planting one of these in the here. I've already put some compost and some rose fertilizer into the hole, so let's get the rose and pop it in there. Well, this is a beautiful looking rose. I got this as a bare root a month or so ago and put it into this pot, and it is growing very, very well. So I'm just going to lift this out and pop this into the hole. There we go. Get rid of that there. Pop this down nicely around, make sure the roots are well in contact and there's no voids in the ground. Plenty of food in there for that plant, and then when we get the mulch over the top of this in a month or so's time, they're going to start feeding, growing, they're going to be happy. A little bit of grass there, we'll get rid of that. And all in all, this is going to be a lovely border. Then what we're going to do, with alongside the existing roses, I'm going to just carry on planting along this side here and filling this border with some beautiful colour for the summer. Well, now I'm back at the polytunnel, and all these beds are in place now. I've got to work the soil a little bit more and start getting my plants in. But first of all, I've got this weed suppressing membrane that I want to put down on the pathway through the middle. And as this is made of timber, I'm going to just staple it to the edges of the timber with my staple gun. Get that in here and fold it all the way along the edges. Get it nice and neat to the top. And then I can cover this either with some shingle or some bark. So I'm just going to get on with fixing this in now. I'm going to put a staple around about every 2 to 3 inches all the way along the edges. Well, that's the weed membrane fitted down the middle, and over the next week or so I'll go and buy some shingle or some pebbles or maybe just some bark to put down and protect the middle. Next little thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to transplant some cabbage plants into the first bed. So that's going to be enjoyable. I'll show you how that looks now. Well, I'm just preparing the rows for my cabbage seedlings, and you may remember we planted those back about 6 weeks ago, and they're ready to go into the ground now. So we're in the polytunnel where they're going to be growing, and hopefully they're going to be protected from the cabbage white butterflies that we get quite prolifically around here. And so I'm making a nice little drill here, and these have been well watered, and so I'm just going to start to lift these, pop them down onto the ground here and split them nice and gently just by using the leaf. And then we've got a nice little cabbage seedling, and we'll pop that into the ground, bring in some soil around that and make sure it's nice and firm in the ground. We've got plenty of plants here, so we're hoping that we're going to have a nice harvest of early cabbages this year. I'm only putting them in about 6 to 8 inches apart, and then any of the weaker plants will thin out later on. So we'll just pop that in here, nice and firm into the ground, and these are going to get a really healthy drink later on today once I've finished putting these in. Just one more going into there. And I'm going to carry on putting these into the ground. Well, that's the first of the crops in the ground in the polytunnel, and we've got cabbages here, and down at the far end you may just be able to see we've got a few all year round cauliflowers in. You may also notice that I planted these just slightly offset, like a bricklayer pattern, so they're offset with each other. That is, if they do all take, then they've got a little bit more space to grow. So quite pleased with the start we've made onto there. So we've got cabbages and we've got some cauliflowers, and I'm going to do a direct sow of some radishes over the next week or so there. Well, one of the jobs we've got for April is to mulch up around our roses to keep moisture and goodness in, and we'll be doing this round all of our roses this year. And then once we see the buds forming on the roses, then we can start a nice weekly feed on them to give us a lovely summer's display. And if we've got frost protection over any of our plants, worth taking a little peek underneath, making sure that there's no signs of damage or disease from over the winter. I'll tell you what, this peach tree is absolutely covered in blossom at the moment. And as the ground warms up, then we can get ready for direct sowing our seeds. And I've got some lovely pollinator friendly seeds to go down underneath the fruit trees. See that in the next show. And with the mixing temperatures, we're getting days up in their 20s and then down into single figures again, very fluctuating. Do keep an eye on your seedlings in the greenhouse or in the polytunnels we've got there, and make sure that they've got plenty of ventilation, plenty of water, and that they're going to grow strongly. And I've started now with my cabbages, my cauliflowers, just to give them a little feed every other week of some liquid seaweed. And as the ground gets a little bit drier, we can give the grass its first high cut, and just make sure that we've got our preparation ready for reseeding and patching up those areas that have gone thin. So lots of things to do in April. Well, I'm working really hard in the garden, and hopefully I will get, over the next couple of months, all of the main areas of the garden sorted out, and then we can just concentrate on the plants. Now, I've got a little bit behind, and I'll let you into a little secret which I haven't shared with anyone. And sometimes I go to bed with the best laid plans for the next day, and I wake up the next day and I'm in such pain I can't do anything about it. And this is due to a condition called arthritis, which a lot of people have, and as we get older a lot of us have it. And the pain, as a lot of you will know, is quite unbearable at times, and you just can't do what you want to do. But hey ho, we get on, we crack on, and we get with what we can do in the times we can do it. But I know this condition can only get worse, it won't get better, so I want to get all of the hard work done while I'm able to do that, and then concentrate on the nice things as we go forward. And the garden is going to be a really, really happy place with the colour, the brightness. The main planting will be done, the main borders will be sorted out, and I can grow my fruit and my vegetables and enjoy my flowers in the garden, which is a wonderful thing to do, and that's what the gardens are all about. They are our escape. So I've got a lot planned over the next couple of months to get really, really sorted out, and I hope you'll enjoy sharing that journey with me. Today we have covered quite a lot of ground. We've been in the greenhouse and in the polytunnel and in the garden planting those lovely roses, and I so look forward to sharing the joy of those with you when they flower later this year. I've also planted another 4 or 5 roses in the front garden, along with the Sarah Bernhardt peony, to give that beautiful pink. And this is going to be a pink corner of the garden. I've already got one pink rose there, and I have got a buddleia there, and in that corner now there will be more pink roses and the pink from the peony, and that is going to be absolutely beautiful, I'm sure. Well, you've been with me on today's show, and I thank you very much for your company. Thank you very much for your comments, and may I also say thank you very much to the subscribers on YouTube. We've now passed 200 subscribers, and to each and every one of you, I love you. Thank you very much for your company, and hopefully you gain some benefit from these little videos that I share with you. So we're coming to the end of lockdown very, very soon. The government has got to change a plan and a time scale of how we're going to come out of this, but I beg you all to be careful as we do this and to look after yourselves. So it just leaves me to say, stay well, stay safe, please be kind to each other, and happy gardening. And I'll leave you with a little glass of Chardonnay. Cheers. Happy gardening.